Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Behind me, I got a 2015 Dodge Grand Caravan. This thing has a 3.6 liter V6, and today I'm going to show everyone how to replace a starter on it. Now before we go ahead and begin, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Definitely smash that like button because it helps the channel out. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's repairs. So the first thing that you want to do before you start this job, and I've already gone ahead and I did this already, you want to disconnect your battery. The main reason why is because we're going to be removing a starter. It has a main power wire, and if you touch it and touch ground, you will potentially cause a fire. Now don't mind things being disarrayed here in my engine bay. We'll see some wiring and stuff because we are doing some other work to this engine. I actually have this engine torn apart. If you're curious, you can see intake's off. So we're doing some other work while we're doing the starter as well, which I'll mention a little bit later. As a matter of fact, you'll probably see why we're doing what we're doing, and I'll mention it. So first step, get your battery disconnected. Now let's go ahead and lift the car up and get to work. So on these vehicles, to be able to get the starter off, this cross member here has to come off because we had to get the front motor mount / transmission mount off. Kind of bolts up in the middle, holds both items up. And in order to do this, we're going to have to support our engine. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna take a stand and we're gonna be placing it right here on our oil pan just to help support our engine. Because we're going to be taking that motor mount off, and I'm pretty sure that's going to want to offload. So the way I like to do this is take my jack hoist or under jack stand, whatever these things are called, I'm not exactly sure, and we're just going to run it down. And we do have a block of wood. We're not just putting this metal to metal on our pan, because if you were to do that, that can actually cause an issue. So once I get this thing set up, now we're not looking to pressure this on there, we're just looking to get it to hold. Now that we have that supported, our next task is going to be to remove the through bolt that is going to be holding our engine mount to our bracket. And if memory serves me correctly, I want to say it's going to be a 15 millimeter. I'm going to go ahead and grab my 15 millimeter with my impact ratchet. And sure enough, I am correct. We got our bolt off. Now that we have our motor mount bolt off, what we're gonna do is go ahead and take off our cross member. And it's gonna be two different bolt sizes. This one here is gonna be an 18 millimeter. All right, so that one put up a little bit of a fight there. You want to be very careful. I completely forgot to mention it, but these sometimes can snap, so be very mindful. And next what we're going to do is go ahead and remove all of our smaller hardware. Now these should be a 16 millimeter, and I believe they should all just come off fairly easily. So we got almost all of them off. Now this last one, be careful because that motor mount will want to drop. So if you guys saw, let me grab it back up here. This is the motor mount. Typically you can leave it bolted up here. I always like to take it off just because I like to swing this one around here. So if I remove this light, what I just generally do is swing it around right there. Gives me more room, so that way I don't got to remove it all the way. Now that we have all of that out of the way, what we're gonna do is go ahead and start removing our bracket. Now our bracket is held in by 3 16 millimeter bolts. Now let me make sure people are able to see me up here. That is our bracket. So what I'm gonna do for the bracket is take my 16 millimeter that we just used previously here, and we're gonna be using our Milwaukee impact ratchet here. And just go ahead and take these off. Now, I kind of screwed up there. I should have grabbed my shorter socket, but we'll just unscrew that one by hand. And then there should be one more here. These are kind of in a tough position here. So that one, I think I'm gonna have to manually get. So let me go ahead and switch up to my regular ratchet here and see if I can't just get in here and crack this bad boy loose, just like that. I apologize if I'm in the way. Camera angles are kind of difficult to get in here. And now the last thing that I'm gonna do is remove the third one here. That's really close to the exhaust, the catalytic converter. Word of the wise, be very careful when you're doing this job. You wanna make sure you're not doing it when the car is warm, because you will burn your hands. So let the car cool down. Now what I'm gonna try to do here, my 16 millimeter that I'm using is a little bit too long. I'm gonna switch it over to a chrome socket, because I pretty much have this all out of the way. All I have to do here is just get this out. And this is the part that I hate about it, just kind of flip-flopping sockets. You gotta go from a long to a chrome, but it's not too horrible. Now that we get this bracket off, I'll kind of angle the camera down and show everyone the little points here. So this is how our bracket normally sits in our motor. Just to let everyone know, we got one bolt here, and one on the side. And make sure when you loosen this last one like I did, you're holding on to it, otherwise this thing will fall and hit you in the face. I don't really remove the bolts off, I just kind of keep them there for reference in case there's any different ones there with different sizes. That's always a good tip to do, kind of layer your bolts together. Now that we have our bracket out of the way, this is where our starter lives. It's in a pretty tight spot. And once again, you don't want to do this when the car is hot, because you have to go this way to get this off fully. So you just want to be very mindful and very careful. Now you'll notice that ours is covered in oil. I believe this starter has failed because this vehicle has an oil cooler leak. And we are actually going to be replacing that as well on it. But I figured since I'm waiting for the parts for that, we might as well tackle the starter. So that's what we're going to attack first. But it's a very common and well-known issue that these oil coolers on these 3.6 liters will leak down. They can get into the starter. I have seen it. It all kind of depends on the situation. If oil gets in that motor, it will weaken it, causing this issue. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab a couple of tools that we need here. Ultimately, at this stage, we only have these 2 bolts to remove our starter body. And then we are going to have to remove the bolt holding our main power wire to our starter. And then we do have an electrical connector for the solenoid wire. What I always like to do, just to make it easier, I'm probably gonna attack this power wire bolt here first, and then we're gonna take our mounting body bolts off, just so we have something sturdy to hold it onto while we crack that one loose. So this is where having a wide variety of tools is very helpful. It's very difficult to get anything in there, so I got this flex head ratchet, and what I'm going to do is get this thing up here and just go ahead and crack this main power wire loose. Now this is why it's also very important to disconnect the battery, because I just put a wrench on a live power feed, or not a live power feed, but a power wire, I should say. And if your battery was connected and your wrench touches this and touches that ground on the engine or this muffler, you are gonna be in a world of hurt. So that's why you always, at any single time, disconnect the battery when you're doing electrical, especially a starter and an alternator, things that have a main power wire. So we got our nut off there. Let's go ahead and put that to the side. And then we should be able to slide our power wire off here. And even if it doesn't come off right away, it's okay. It's always just good knowing that it's loose. It is kind of held in here by a plastic retainer that has like a little Christmas tree fastener. So let me go ahead and see if I can just get this bad boy to pop out here. Sometimes they come off, sometimes they don't. And in this scenario, this one's not really coming off. So let's see what's going on here. See if we can get this loosened up, because I really need the wiggle room. And fortunately for us, it looks like that one broke. I'm gonna see if I have any, because normally I have a stockpile of these. If I do, I'm gonna cut that off and replace it. But having that extra wiggle room is gonna be a really good thing right now. So now that we have that ready to go, what we're gonna do is go ahead and start removing our retaining bolts. Now these, if memory serves me correct here, let me see. Yep, it's gonna be a 15 millimeter. So let me grab my 15 millimeter here. See if that'll work. And that ain't working, I guess. I'm always very keen on using my impact tools or my electric tools. Sometimes you gotta go manual. So It's all right. We're gonna go ahead and just crack this bad boy loose. And there goes our first one. Now, I am a little bit spoiled here because I don't really take bolts off manually a whole lot. Usually I have an electric tool that can get in there. And I actually do have something that would get in here. I'm just really lazy to go and get it right now. So I'm gonna choose to do this the old school way. Maybe suffer a little bit. Now this one here is a little bit of a pain because of the angle that we're in, and we have this little ear tab that's in the way, but it's not really a big deal. So my laziness got the better of me. Let's just go ahead and use the electric tools here, flexi head, and makes life so much easier. I know I'm such a, I guess you can say, a lazy person, because I want to use my my electric guns and stuff, but I did pay a pretty penny for them, so why not be able to use my tools? And now that we have that all loose, now it's not just gonna fall out. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So what we're gonna do is go ahead and pry on this bad boy here. Sometimes they'll come off nicely. Sometimes get ready for a fight. So I just kind of go in here, and the reason why they fight you, they have a little locating pin there. I don't know if people can see that in the camera, but it's kind of just stuck towards one side. So just what I like to do is just give it a nice wiggle. And then if you get it to open up a little bit here, I can sneak this in there and just go ahead and pull it off of that locating pin. Usually they're not on there too horribly. They come off. Now, this is the part where it's gonna be a little bit interesting. Now, here's the thing. I need to be where the camera's at, so I'm gonna reposition everyone and give you a different angle while I try to remove it. So this is probably the best angle, but I also don't wanna block you guys. But I do have to get this done. So what's limiting me is this wire harness again. I gotta try to unfasten these wires. A little bit easier said than done. So let me go back in here, push the power wire off, and see if I can't get it to back out all the way. All right. I'm hoping that that'll give me enough room. It's been a while since I did one of these. I wonder, did I screw up here? I think I had to remove this connector tab too. All right, so what I did was I just kind of pried it on over there, and we still got our wire attached here. So now that I got my starter out of its housing, what I did was I just used my pry bar to push it a little farther back, because this does have a release tab. And that's basically what we were fighting there. And I'll probably zoom everyone in, but we have this spade connector with a little release locking tab. That's what was doing it for us. What I had to do was basically come in here, pry the starter with a pry bar just to kind of clear this little nose cone here. And then I was able to get the starter out. So I wish I had caught that on camera, but actually it wasn't that bad. No point of fight it, just do that and you should be able to get it off. So let's go ahead and get our new starter and get this bad boy bolted back up. So I went to go get my new starter, and I inspected this area. Now, if everyone notices here, we have this little dowel pin that's in the transmission side. Apparently that's supposed to be on the starter because my new starter came with it. So it looks like we have to remove this dowel pin here. Now, I would say you could remove it off the new starter, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be the same depth or not. It should be, but seeing as how the starter came with it, we're gonna have to remove it. Now, I hope this dowel is not stuck in there, because this can make a job go from easy to difficult. And I think this one's gonna be a little difficult here. Typically these come off, which is very odd. I haven't done one of these in a few years, but I remember that you do wind up fighting little situations like that, and we actually got ours off. So, all right, now that that's off, we are golden. We should be able to get our new starter in there. Now I'm gonna move everybody back here, give you the best angle that I can, And we are going to take our new starter or new remanufactured starter. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and just plug in this solenoid wire, because I have more room now to be able to get it in there than later. So now that we got that in there, we're just gonna go ahead and angle this in. I'm gonna need some light in here because I gotta be able to see where my pin is going to be set. Just like that. Alrighty. So what I'm gonna do now is take my starter bolts, and I'm gonna hold the starter in on one end and start threading these in. It's always a good practice to hand thread these, because if you don't, sometimes they can present an issue. You can strip them out. So now that they're threaded, I'm just gonna use my impact to get them in there. Now I'm just gonna use my hand ratchet here to just snug them up. Now you can torque this down if you'd like. These don't really take an extreme torque. Nice and tight is always a good spec on them. And it's a lot easier to tighten them than it would be to break it loose. This top one's always kind of a bear to do. So what I can do with this one is just go ahead and swap this out for a 1/4 inch ratchet. And I should be able to clear this enough to be able to tighten it up. Yep, just like that. Nice and tight. Swapped out for my little 1/4 inch. Was able to get in there. And I apologize if I'm breathing heavy in this video. It is currently about 90 degrees outside. And I have the garage doors closed just to make this video for everyone, because if I don't, you're gonna hear a lot of road noise. So now that we got that done, what I'm gonna do is take my power wire, go ahead and get it on my stud. So let's just go ahead and get this bad boy worked in here. And now that I got it on there, I'm going to take my fastener and go ahead and bolt that up. So just give me a second here. I'm gonna do this while the camera's off because it's a lot easy. Same exact order of removal. It's pretty simple. So I got my wiring done. Now I did run into an issue. The supply nut that came with the starter, it was very cheap. So I wound up reusing the old nut that I took off that main power wire. Sometimes the original factory studs and nuts are a lot better. The aftermarket reman ones aren't, sometimes the greatest. They're very chintzy. So we got everything tightened up. I checked my connections, make sure they were nice and tight. We are pretty much golden at this stage. What we can do now is go ahead and put our subframe back into place. Now I have to make sure that camera is in good focus here. And the way that I like to put things back is going to be a little bit different from the removal. And the way that I like putting my motor mount bolt back in first. So what I like to do here is get this put in here, and I will just bolt it up here a couple threads and get this part ready. And I'll also take my bolt here, just get it in the way, just like that. Now we are going to take our mount and go ahead and install this. Now this is going to be the same exact order of removal. What I like to do is just make sure you hold it, get a few of the bolts started here by hand, and once you get those started up, if you have your socket here, now I don't know what I did with mine. I believe it was this one. Yep. I'm just going to take my ratchet here. Once I figure out how to put this back in together. And what we're gonna do is just run our bolts down, like so. And this one here, just give it a couple more turns. And then let's go ahead and put this on here. Now, even though I got that tightened up like that, what I'm also gonna do is go over it with my hand ratchet. So now our bracket is nice and tight. What we're gonna do is go ahead and take our mount here that we already got pre-installed here. We did it in the last clip. I like to leave it loose, but at least bolt it on there. And then what I'm gonna do is slide it on up. The reason why you wanna leave it loose is because you wanna be able to get your hardware in. So what I like to do is try to get this threaded in here. And it looks like I was able to get some threading, which is always a great thing. And then we have to take our 16 millimeter here, and I'm gonna run these down a little bit more. Once we get those ran in, we need our really big 18 millimeter bolt that we took off. And I'm going to go ahead and get this threaded in here, just a couple threads. Now you don't want to go ahead and tighten anything because you need to get these started on their threads. If you tighten one of these down, you may disrupt how these bolt holes are in here, and you may not be able to bolt anything up. So I always like to start off with my smaller fasteners. I'll run everything down first, nice and light. All right, everyone, so the last clip, the camera got too hot, shut off. It's pretty hot in here, so I don't blame it. But the last clip you saw me, I was basically mentioning that I was going to lightly start running these up with my gun, not tightening them. So what I did was I ran all my little bolts in, then I ran my front bolts in, my motor mount bolts and everything, just got them where they were secure. And then I hit them once with the impact, and I went around and I torqued everything to spec. So everything is tightened up. Make sure you just tighten it up in the reverse order of removal. The only difference is that I like to mount this motor mount on here loosely to get everything lined up with that through bolt. So that's the only variation from the removal. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. The way you take it off is the way it goes in. After you do that, now mine's already tightened and torqued. Again, my camera kind of cut off there, so I couldn't show the whole process. What you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and remove your support for your engine, which would be whatever way method you held it up. In my case, I'm gonna remove my block of wood and my stand out of the way here. And that is pretty much it as far as doing a starter. All you have to do now is go back up top and let's connect our battery. So now that the starter and everything is in place, what you want to do is hook up your battery. Now, unfortunately for me, I can't do that just yet because we still have the intake off. We are doing the oil cooler on this engine, and once again, just kind of give everyone a little snippet. We're waiting on the oil cooler. It's not here yet, so that's why we're doing the starter in the meantime. It's kind of funny because this car came in because the starter was bad. We lifted it up, we saw it was drenched in oil, and then you know, we got to do the oil cooler with the starter. So at this stage, connect your battery, should be able to start your car, and everything is golden. You are ready to roll. So we are all said and done. That's how easy it is to replace a starter on one of these. Takes about an hour or two, depending on your tool set and how fast you want to go. Now, it's pretty straightforward. To me, on this job, that little starter solenoid wire was probably the most difficult part, just because, you know, you had to get in there. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Watch out for that pin, not to get stuck on the transmission. It's supposed to be on the starter, just as a heads up. If you live in a state where they use a lot of salt, technically I'm surprised this thing wasn't any more rotted. It's actually in pretty decent shape, but if you do live in a state where they use salt a lot and there's a lot of rust, you may have a little bit of a hard time with those cross member bolts. So always hit them with some penetrating oil prior to doing this. Let them soak in, make your life a little bit easier, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Another key takeaway, do it when the engine is cold. You do not want to burn yourself. I was all up on that catalytic converter with my forearms and everything, and if you're not careful, you can get burned. So best policy, do this if the car has been sitting for hours, and you know, realistically, if you're replacing the starter, the car won't start, so the engine can be warm in theory, so you should be all right. Just don't burn yourself. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna leave it at that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Like always, please comment, like, and subscribe because it definitely helps the channel grow. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next video.